and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. Well, there's been interesting developments in Europe, of all places. So while the world's attention has been focused on the opening of the General Assembly and President Biden's mediocre and unimpressive address, over in Europe, there have been some interesting developments in regard to Russia. So first of all, in the United Kingdom, a third Russian has been charged for the attempted murder of the Skripals. Skripals, people say, who the hell are the Skripals? Well, that's because it's already ancient history. It's 3.5 years ago. This is a Skripal was a former Russian intelligence agent who had gone over to the British side for money, and then basically served his British masters against the Russians. He went to prison. He was charged in Russia, went to prison, was released, went off to live in the United Kingdom, and then allegedly the Russians tried to murder him in 2018. And after a lot of investigating, the British authorities came up with a couple of no good nicks who said, these are the people who did it, or at least attempted to do it, which was Popov, the classic names of Petrov and Boshirov, as opposed to the usual, Popov and Ivanov as the ubiquitous Russian names. So yeah, so those were those were the two who were charged originally. Of course, no one knows anything about them. They made a brief appearance on RT. It was a lengthy interview conducted by Marguerite Simonian, in which they said that they'd been in Salisbury to do some sightseeing. In any case, so today they've charged, they said this is a man using the name Sergey Fedotov. So, the kind of ubiquitous Russian name Fedotov, believed to be about 50 years old, is alleged to have been working as part of the Russian military unit with Petrov and Boshirov. And then the Scotland Yard said all three men were working for Russia's GRU. And
it's the first time that they've officially said that. Too.
Right, that's right, yeah. So they say, and the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, told MPs, quote, "We will not tolerate such malign activity here in the UK. We will continue to take robust steps to counter the threat posed by the Russian state." And then she said that Russia has repeatedly refused to allow its nationals to stand trial overseas. And then the Dean Hayden, the Metropolitan Police's Deputy Assistant Commissioner, said all three of them have all previously worked with each other on behalf of the Russian state as part of ops carried on outside Russia. All three of them are dangerous individuals. They have tried to murder people here in the UK, and they have also brought an extremely dangerous chemical weapon into the UK. And they say that Fedotov's real name is believed to be Denis Sergeyev. Sergeyev. Okay.
Really imaginative there.
And then they say, and then there's a picture. I'm reading from The Guardian. There's a picture of Fedotov arriving at Heathrow on the 2nd of March, 2018. Looking very sinister as he walks with his suitcase,
and that is the only alleged fact.
Right. Well, that's it. So they're saying here that he stayed in a hotel in central London and met his alleged co-conspirators several times over the weekend at outside and inside locations, but did not accompany them to Salisbury, where they allegedly carried out the attempt on Skripal, yeah. And then, unlike the hotel where Petrov and Boshirov stayed, no trace of Novichok was found in Sergeyev's hotel. And then his flight left Heathrow at 1:45 p.m. on the 4th of March, about 5 minutes before Petrov and Boshirov were seen at Salisbury Station. So really, we have this person, we have a picture, he's arriving at Heathrow in a very sinister fashion. He's carrying his suitcase on wheels behind him. No pictures of him meeting Petrov and Boshirov.
No real man uses that kind of luggage, George.
No, I don't think so. No, either. They definitely not very manly. But again, so we said, well, we're just told, we take it on faith that he met them and they hatched their sinister plot, and then he left before the attempted assassination. So, once again, the British officials making all their furious denunciations, shaking their fist against Russia. But in the meantime, the European Convention on, the European Court of Human Rights has today issued a ruling against Russia in the case of Alexander Litvinenko. And that really goes back a long time. And then they declare, the ruling is Russia was responsible for the assassination of Alexander Litvinenko in the UK. It's clear that they don't really have any new evidence to present other than what the British determined back in 2016, which was a very weak and inadequate inquiry. So again, it's strange. Why would a court of human rights, and since they have no forensic evidence, they have no witnesses, it's not a proper trial, they can just determine Russia was behind the murder of Litvinenko.
Well, I can easily say that George Szamuely was behind the AOC's dress.
That's it. That's it. Exactly.
I'm making that claim here.
That's right. It's a very good claim. So now the question is, it's very strange. All of a sudden, we have these two determinations against Russia. Of course, may all be coincidence, but we tend to say there are no coincidences and there are no conspiracies. I think that there's a very, very powerful moves within Europe, basically still determined to wage a Cold War against Russia. They know perfectly well, they have no hope whatsoever of getting this person. I mean, so Russia's not going to hand them over. Of course, Russia's not going to hand them over. There's no extradition treaty between Russia and the United Kingdom. And even if there were, the British would have to supply evidence, something that they have never done. So they have to go apply to a Russian court and present evidence. Well, the British haven't provided any evidence whatsoever in the case of the Skripals. So all this self-righteous that, well, the Russians always refuse to cooperate. Well, you haven't provided any evidence. If you show us the evidence, then we'll talk. But other than that,
it's just like, George, cooperate.
Exactly, yeah.
Cooperate on what? Can you show me something? Do you have a question in that statement? Cooperate. Where's the question?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I 100% agree with you. I don't understand the timing of this. I mean, simultaneously, two things that are very murky. The British government has never been forthright with evidence. They have a whole lot of bluster, okay? And, one of the things I don't really feel sorry too much about, George, is why the British government is allowing a lot of these creepy oligarchs and Berezovsky, it's their little backyard playground. Okay, I mean, if they had any common sense, they do a little due diligence, but no, they want their money, don't they?
Right,
okay,
right.
All right. Let's go back first. The Litvinenko case, they never presented a forensic case determining how they got to their conclusion or tentative conclusions whatsoever. They weren't forthcoming with any kind of evidence for the public except for beating their breasts. And then when it comes to the Skripals, well, where are the Skripals? Maybe they can confirm one thing or another. I mean, I don't know, not just a thought, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Gee, they were there. They might have some interesting things to say, in terms of timeline and who did what and when, and did they see any suspicious goings on or whatever. So, their testimony will be jolly interesting.
Number two, well, Novichok doesn't seem to kill very well, okay? No. I mean, what kind of weapon, assassination weapon is this if it doesn't have any, it's not 100%.
Right.
Okay, it looks like it's pretty haphazard at best.
Doesn't kill anyone. I mean, Navalny was also supposed to be killed by
if
Novichok.
it's so deadly, why don't the perpetrators? I mean, did you see them walking around in some kind of moon suit? Okay.
Yeah, quite.
I mean, you can't have it both ways, folks.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways at the same time.
Yeah.
And because they won't tell us where the Skripals are. And another important point here, yes, Skripal was a traitor to his country. And if you look hard enough, you can find it on YouTube when they arrested him, when they got him, because he was back in the Soviet Union. Was it Russia or the Soviet Union?
It was Russia. It was already Russia, yeah.
And it's brutal. I mean, they got their man, okay? Right. And what did they do? They squeezed that guy probably to the point of death, for all I can estimate, okay? They let him go. Yeah. That means they were done with him.
Right.
He was no longer a danger. Why would you let someone go?
Right.
If you think that he could pose a threat to national security. Apparently, they came to the conclusion that he didn't, and they let him be reunited with his family, okay? Right. So why let him go and then go kill him in the most bizarre fashion imaginable?
Right. No, that's right. Because as you say, once they let him go, that means whatever information he had, the British would have already extracted from it. I mean, in other words, they already accepted, okay, he's going to go to the British. The British are going to squeeze out every drop of information they can, and then that's it. So what's the point of killing him? I mean, it only makes sense to kill him if you want to prevent him from getting to the British. But killing him now makes no sense.
And when the Soviet Union was coming to I can speak to the American case, and you know it well as also, is that there were a lot of Soviet operatives that did turn. And what was the guy's name? The master one. He was the one that was looking into, what's his name? He was the one that was supposed to find the mole, and he was the mole. Miller.
Was it Orlov?
No, it was Miller.
Oh, Miller. Okay.
FBI agent. He was supposed to be counterintelligence, and he gave up all of these names. And so when these Soviet operatives went back to the Soviet Union, they were executed, okay? Right. Skripal got away with his life.
Right. No, that's right. So none of it ever made sense any more than, the attempted assassination of Navalny ever made any sense. I mean, it's like, why do something like that for which you don't derive any real benefits? Only problems and headaches. So it was always an absurdity. And I guess, you ultimately, the fact that the Skripals have been disappeared, that completely off the face of the earth, would indicate that the British case is very thin. Because if they had devastating testimony, the British would be parading them around. I mean, say, here, let's have yet another interview with the Skripals.
And the Skripal daughter, remember, it was like a hostage tape, okay? I mean, what was that all about, okay?
Yes, that's right.
And then also, much more on a human level, is that they were denied contact with their own family. Okay. Oh, and before I forget, I mean, when's the last time that the British allowed extradition of one of their citizens? Okay.
Well, that's another thing.
You can't, not even to France. France won't,
Right. No,
there was that case in Ireland. Netflix did something on it. Okay. But I mean, this guy is dead to rights. Okay. But nope. We're not
that's right. And that's a very good point. And of course, what's a very sore point with the Russians is that there were a number of people that they sought to extradite whom they accused of terrorism, particularly in Chechnya. And they made their home, happy home in the UK. And every time the Russians made an attempt to extradite, can we have them back? No. These are political, political refugees. So for the British now to say, well, Russia is no cooperative, so we're not even going to bother to seek their extradition. Well, of course you're not going to bother, because it's a joke. If you were to do it, you would have to go into a Russian court and you would have to present your evidence. It was the same with Mala. You remember when Mala, I'm indicting these 13 Russians who were involved in hacking the election. well, we're not going to make an application for extradition because the Russians are just going to tell us to sling our hook. Yeah.
Well, what they did was those kids, they sent a lawyer. And
right. That was a different one. There were two indictments. There was there was one that when they made a huge blunder because they indicted the corporation, and the corporation can just send a lawyer. But there was another one where they just simply indicted individuals.
But with the corporation, they hired a lawyer in the U.S. and it's called, folks, discovery. So what's the case? Oh, we're not going to.
That's right. And that case was thrown out. Eventually, the DOJ just withdrew that case. I mean, because it was so absurd. So yeah, that case collapsed because Mahler made a fundamental blunder. You think, oh, well, the Russians aren't going to show up. Great. But they were quite smart. Hey, you indicted a corporation, so we can just simply send a lawyer to represent the corporation. So yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, it's like anyone can just pick up a Russian telephone directory and say, well, I'm now indicting Popov, Ivanov, Turgenev, and then Sergeyev, and a whole bunch of Russians, and these people are the worst criminals on the face of the earth. We want them over here. I mean, it's just childish.
Who was the guy that was the translator for Paul Manafort?
Yeah. We talked about him so
often. Yeah. So here's a guy that saw everything going on, and it took the courageous and someone I totally respect. Aaron Monte actually caught up with the guy, and he said they just needed a Russian, and they decided on me.
That's right. Yes, that was very funny. That's exactly the point. Because they had a Russiagate. There's no Russians, and then they just spun this out. They just kept saying, "Oh, he's this top Russian intelligence officer," and so he doesn't no evidence whatsoever they had anything to do with Russian intelligence. But they had to spin the story that, well, Manafort was having a meeting with a top Russian intelligence officer, and he gave him polling data. Oh no, not polling data.
Yeah, and dated polling data. And the reason why he did it is we knew this from Gates, his collaborator, is that he was just trying to show off, saying he's a big wheel in Washington.
Right, exactly, because he was still trying to rustle up clients. I mean,
he was trying to get paid too.
That's it, exactly. He was trying to get paid.
What do you take away from this is it's very clear for George and I. It's just still in a series of smear campaigns, okay? And probably somebody said, why don't we squeeze it a couple more times so you can get a couple more drops out of it, okay? Right. One important thing here, don't forget, it's scaremongering. They're scaring people.
Right.
And again, George and I slightly differ on this one here. All the more reason to say, fine, you want to keep this kind of nonsense up, go somewhere else. We don't need it, okay? Right. You're not serious people. Okay. You're not serious people. And oh, by the way, the UK stabs France in the back. Okay.
Right. But there's also kind of the French who withdrew ambassadors from Australia and the US didn't withdraw an ambassador from the UK because they said, well, the British are always opportunists, so we're not even going to bother.
Even worse. It's even worse.
That's right. We just have such utter contempt for the British, that we're not even going to withdraw an ambassador.
They're such schmucks. Okay.
But it's a part of Boris Johnson's kind of global Britain campaign. He's managing to antagonize everyone. I don't see where British influence is somehow increasing, as if somehow, well, Britain is now a player on the world scene. I mean, it's antagonizing just about everybody, and it's just simply, tagging along with the United States for the ride. Well, it's really the worst of British foreign policy. It's all because Britain's always tagged along with the United States, but it's now even worse.
And Boris Johnson, mark my words, everybody heard it here first. Next time you do one of those Zoom meetings, he's going to say, oh, and that fellow over there in England, right. You think Joe Biden gives a hoot one way or another? I've said it before. We said it the last time we talked about this. I mean, when you start peeling this away, do you think Australia made a really good choice there? I mean, you stab one ally to get another. These submarines, they're going to get them in 20 years. Okay, yeah. I mean, but it's the impression they make and the utter contempt you have for the adults in the room, and NATO is sacred. Everyone must get on their knees. That's not. You guys figure it out, okay?
Right. Well, I think it's again, Australia has this. I mean, like the United Kingdom has great ideas about itself. It wants to be, in the sheriff's posse. I think I can't remember one of those Australian prime ministers, saw Australia as being, a member of the sheriff's posse. America is the sheriff, and Australia is always there. So I think Australia has strange delusions of grandeur. I think they must have picked it up from the British. So I do think that they somehow think, well, hey, now with the Americans, and that shows our global cloud. No, I mean, there's no global cloud. I mean, it is extremely vulnerable. Any kind of conflict, it is really on the front line and can be clobbered very quickly and easily.
And the immediate ripple effect was Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia saying, okay, we see what side you're on right now. Right. See, smart politics, even if it's domestic or international, you always leave options available. Right. Don't close doors. Don't close doors. Okay, and this is just infantile behavior. Okay, anyway, we're kind of getting off point.
Right, yeah,
this is still in a series of smear campaigns. It's like what is the term? It's like bombing the rubble. I mean, it's the damage you've already created. I mean, I don't know what you're trying.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. I think it's the European Court of Human Rights entirely dependent on the findings from 5 years ago of the British investigation. It has no means of conducting any kind of an independent inquiry. But it's a court that is consistently very hostile to Russia. It always rules against Russia and always rules in favor of Ukraine. So whatever the subject, is always going to rule against Russia. So again, it has no credibility. So again, wow, suddenly they bring up Litvinenko, God, no one can even remember it. It's so long ago. What is the point of this? But that's that's the way it is now in Europe.
That is the point. Just making a smear, right. And that's it, and leaving on. No evidence, no witnesses, no investigation, nothing. Okay, right. I read it in Bellingcat. Okay, yeah. That finishes the conversation. All righty, everybody, we're on local, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. George, have you decided on your live stream?
Yeah, probably sometime either later this week or over the weekend. So
okay.
Very shortly.
We got the store up. We got some new items there for winter, hats, scarves, and stuff like that. It's really cool. We're still doing our series of Zoom chats with gagglers, so please look into that. We have on Friday, we're going to be doing a super chat on YouTube as long as they let us do it. Please join us. George will send out a notification, so will I. And I noticed this morning that the tip jar is empty.
Yes, yes.
I don't know. Did you sneak in at night?
I don't think so. I think I heard from Buddy. He was complaining bitterly that the tip jar was empty, and he really very, very unhappy. So yes, that it doesn't fill itself. So please, anything that you can do to keep Buddy happy would be most appreciated.
He lives here, God.
Exactly. Buddy's not happy. Peter's not happy. Peter's not happy. I'm not happy. So it just it goes around in a circle. So we're very grateful and for all of your help and support, and anything you can do would be extremely welcome. And remember, if you like the Gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.